Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Heavenly Cream, an acoustic tribute to Cream, was recorded at Sensible Music and the legendary Abbey Road Studios in London. Years in the making, Quarto Valley Records executive Mike Carden initially approached the great Pete Brown, his longtime colleague and friend, in 2017 about a different project. And out of that meeting came the concept of doing recording, a retrospective of Cream music, which both Pete and Mike mutually agreed to. Pete had remained friends with Ginger Baker over the years and brought him on board. Following suit came Mr. Malcolm Bruce, Jack's son, and the gathering of the incredible talent on the album began to fall in place. The project honors Cream's legacy with a 15-track tribute album, features Pete Brown, Ginger Baker, plus an impressive roster of renowned musicians who knew were inspired by the iconic supergroup, including Joe Bonamassa, Deborah Bonham, Malcolm Bruce, Peter Bullock, Nathan James, Bernie Marsden, Maggie Bell, Rob Cass, Clem Clemson, Paul Rogers, and Bobby Rush. Heavenly Cream will be released via Quarto Valley Records on November 3rd on vinyl, CD, and digitally on all platforms. Please welcome composer, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and the son of Cream legend Jack Bruce, Malcolm Bruce, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Malcolm.
Hey Ray, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. First of all, I interviewed your dad back in April 2014 for the
Oh
Silver
wow,
Rails release,
fantastic.
which was an awesome album. Here's just a little excerpt. Okay.
Okay.
It says, I said, you have a wonderful sense of humor. In an interview you did, you said that many of the personal issues between you and Ginger Baker occurred because Ginger didn't have a sense of humor. Is that true? And your dad said, well, he's got his own sense of humor. I don't understand. He doesn't get my humor. That's for sure. I think I'm a pretty funny guy, but then I guess a lot of idiots do. If you haven't got a sense of humor, you're making your life 100 times harder. Doesn't matter what happens to you. If you can have a laugh about it and don't take yourself so serious, you have the battles halfway won. Your dad was so cool, man. He was a funny guy too.
That's isn't that like it's a pretty profound statement though in its own way, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
especially with what's going on in the world right now, we're all taking ourselves way too seriously.
I
We get
agree, man.
get
I
caught up
agree.
in all the rights and wrongs of stuff instead of just having compassion and tolerance and sharing this beautiful sphere that we're all stuck to. So I think what my dad said is pretty good.
Exactly. That's why he's with so many bands, over the years, and I love what he did with Robin Trower, who's a frequent guest on the show as well. But it's his composure and his attitude, his positive attitude was wonderful. It really was. And I think it rubbed off on you as well.
Oh, maybe a little bit. It's funny being a musician and being the son of somebody famous like that. Comes with its challenges for sure. But I love my dad and I'm proud of him. And you're right. I mean, he was a layered person. There were some shadowy parts of himself, but he was a joyous person and his music making was incredible and he loved people and he had an amazing life. So, I just respect him so much, and hence this project being involved in it was a real joy to participate.
Well, here's what I said about the album. Ready for this? Heavenly Cream captures the essence and spirit of the legendary power trio, performed by a colossal cast of all-star musicians, including Malcolm Bruce, proficient music artist and son of Cream legend Jack Bruce. And I gave it 5 stars, man. I thought it was brilliant. It's a brilliant album.
Wow,
It really is.
fantastic! Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting ride. I mean, as you said in the intro, um, we started this at the end of 2017,
Mm-hmm.
recorded it in 2018, and because there's a documentary goes alongside it that was directed and edited by Mark Waters, I think the whole process took a little while to just bring to completion, and then we hit the pandemic, and and I think the label kind of, held back partly because of that. So it's been about 5 years from inception to seeing the light of day. Um, so that's an interesting process, and it's also kind of become a bit of a historical document because quite a few of the core people involved have passed away since then. So
They
Ginger
have.
Baker, Pete and Pete Brown and Bernie Marsden a few weeks ago. Who else? Who else has
Yeah.
passed away? Pee Wee Ellis is on the record,
Pee
and
Wee Ellis. That's right.
he passed away. I mean, what a lovely guy! So it was a great honor to spend a day with him in Abbey Road, no less. So yeah,
You
that
know,
was
it's
very.
funny. I live in Bradenton, Florida, and that's where Pee Wee's from. He was born
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great. I mean, a lot of my friends, because he lived in the UK for a long time, but
Right.
a lot of my musician friends actually played with him quite a lot
Hmm.
over the years. But that was the only day I spent with him. But he just had a great feeling to stand next to and chat to and play with. Just a great vibe. So yeah, so he's from your hometown. There you
Yeah, he
go.
is.
I love Florida, man. I really love Florida. It's warm compared to where I
It,
am.
it is. It's a beautiful day now. It's only in the 70s, which I like,
Oh,
because sometimes it gets too hot, you know.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you ask Eric Clapton to be on the album?
I didn't personally. I believe Pete Brown may have asked him, and he passed. But then
Oh gosh.
we just actually completed Pete Brown's final solo record, which is a
Oh
whole separate
wow.
project that's coming out next year. It's called The Shadow Club.
Fantastic.
So I played bass on that, and
Hmm.
the drummer is Richard Bailey from Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow and
Hmm.
Steve Winwood and everything. And Eric is performing on that record. He's playing on the title track, The Shadow Club. So I can't, and somebody else asked me this previously, and so I'm always careful to say I cannot speak for Eric, but I would imagine he was more open to doing an original track with Pete as opposed
Hmm.
to covering a Cream song, because he's already doing that in his live shows, and
True.
he was the original guy. So I think for whatever reason he didn't participate in Heavenly Cream, but we have some other great people, so it's all good.
Well, it's kind of labeled as an acoustic album, but it really isn't. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It's when you think acoustic, you just think of the guitar and that's it. Maybe somebody's singing with it. But
Yeah, I mean, I think acoustic means that it's we weren't allowed to plug a guitar in, but apart from that,
right.
from
Yeah.
that it's kind of rocking in its own way. It's got proper drums. It's not a djembe and an acoustic guitar. It's a proper kind of arranged band sort of
Right.
sound, say, just without the electrified instruments.
It sounds great, man. I love it. You sing, you play bass, and you play piano on the album.
And a
So
little bit
yeah,
of guitar as well, I think,
a
as far as
little
I'm.
bit of guitar. Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, it's great. I mean, I very much a supportive role for me on this record, and I think it was all about just really finding some amazing guests to participate and people that made sense to the
Hmm.
story. So obviously Paul Rogers, it's great that he
Yeah.
agreed to do something. Bobby
Yeah.
Rush, an amazing guy. I mean, Bobby was just a dream. As far as I remember, he flew in to London, drove to Abbey Road, did the session, and left again. He's like the ultimate road warrior, I guess.
Yeah.
But he just brought great energy to the studio and
Hmm.
session, and so it was really kind of about matching the right songs to the right
Oh, it was
artist. And
perfect. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've had Deborah on the show, Deborah Bonham, and she's cool. I like Deborah.
oh yeah,
She did a great version of I Feel Free. Um, and of course, Bernie's on that. You're on that. Some of my favorites, though, I think White Room was one of them. Pete Brown had such a great voice, man. You know?
yeah, and I think that's one of the best vocal performances I've heard of his caught on record. But yes, he worked for years and years on his voice. He really, when obviously he started off as a kind of British beat poet,
Hmm.
did shared shows with Allen Ginsberg when he came over to London, just very, very early 60s, and then sort of discovered what became a song lyricist. and that, but through that wanted to become an artist himself and a musician. I think he just worked very, very hard for many, many years and developed his own abilities as a songwriter, not just a lyricist, but and as a vocalist. So yeah, great vocal performance on that track, I think.
Have you heard Deep Purple's version of White Room? They do a good job also.
Wow, what era Deep Purple? Or
It's,
like,
I think it's pretty recent. I think it was,
okay.
yeah.
I
And
did a tour I did a little tour with Glenn Hughes,
mhm,
Australia and New Zealand. So I got to know Glenn a little bit.
right.
Lovely guy. So who was singing it with Deep
Ian,
Purple at that?
Ian,
Ian. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he was singing.
Wow, I'll have to check that out. I mean, I have heard my favorite version of Sunshine of Your Love, for instance, is the Ella Fitzgerald version. I don't know whether you've heard that one, but
I have not heard that.
I mean that's got horns on it and she's scatting and it's funky,
Oh wow.
and then there's a George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic version from the 80s.
Jeez.
There's plenty of like various sort of different approaches to it, I guess, but Ella, yeah, that's pretty amazing that she covered that song.
I got to look that up.
Yeah,
I got to look that one up. Theme from an Imaginary Western, which has always been one of my favorite tunes. He does an amazing job on that. Corky Lang's a friend of mine.
Oh, well, I was in a band with Corky. I know Corky. Well, if he's a friend with yours, we could just sit here and not say anything else. We could just communicate telepathically because we kind of probably know exactly what we're thinking at this moment.
I know. He's a good guy.
I love Corky.
Yeah. He met me here for lunch at where do we eat? I forgot. Cracker Barrel.
Oh man.
Yeah.
High class nutrition.
I know. Poor guy, he almost choked. He started coughing, and I said, "Oh, this is great. Now then, this is going to go viral." Corky Lang, chokes at Cracker Barrel.
Oh my. Yeah. No, I've been to some pretty. I have to say, I've been to some pretty nice restaurants with Corky over the years. So
yeah,
it's he has a varied diet. Let's put it like that.
Did you play with Ginger Baker's son also at one time?
Yes, I did quite a lot. Up until 2019, we did around 100 shows as a band called The Music of Cream. We did
Right.
about 3 tours in the US. We did a tour in the UK, and as I mentioned, we did a tour in Australia and New Zealand with Glenn Hughes as a special guest. So,
wow.
So yeah, we did quite a lot. It was a lot of fun. But I'm in the middle of working on my own record that's coming out next year. So, it's a really funny thing, isn't it? I think, and I'm sure you've met and spoken to other kids and relatives of famous people and all that. But, I mean, probably with Debbie Bonham, it's a similar thing. It's like, it's always that association and maybe an expectation because of the level of success of the music that's associated with your family that you're kind of just going to fall into that and do it.
I know, it's a shame.
Well, I have done it and I'm proud to do it. But
yeah,
if you're an artist in your own right, there's just that desire. So I kind of have to sort of put this to one side at some point and say, okay, I'm going to stand up and be counted. I want people to hear everything. So next year I'm in the middle of making this record and I'm really excited about it. So
yeah, we're going to talk about that and your last solo album as well, which I loved.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Wow. Thank you.
You did a great job on "We're Going Wrong." Oh my god, I kind of like your
version.
It
again?
I like your version. I like your version better than Cream.
But can we get? They have those apps. My friend, somebody I know called Dennis Chambers, the drummer, right?
Right.
He's a lovely guy. But anyway, I was on a Zoom chat with him and a couple of other friends, and he was playing with this app where you can remove instruments. So you can just you've got a finished track, but you say, okay, I'd like to take out the bass or take out the drums so that I can play along with it. So can we do that with that song, and so I can sing it again? No, I'm kidding. I'm sort of kidding, but I'm not. Because it's 5 years ago, I know that I could do it better. But I think maybe there's just something innate within me as a creative person that I'm always going to be striving to be better.
Yeah. Well, you nailed it, man. You nailed it. You really did. And that's a tough song to sing too.
It's a beautiful song. I think it's one of my favorite of the Cream songs. It's so open and simple and direct. And the story goes that my dad wrote. It's one of the few, maybe the only Cream song. Or there's As You Said. Maybe it's the other one. No, who wrote the lyric to that? I think Pete Brown did. But with We're Going Wrong, my dad wrote the music and the lyric.
Right.
And apparently it was because he had an argument with my mum, Janet, and
Hmm.
then he stormed off out of our house. And well, it's before I was born, and kind of walked in the rain and came up with this lyric. But to me, it's not really about an argument between two lovers. It's about it takes on a kind of a bigger meaning somehow,
Mhm.
multiple meanings. So whenever I've sung that song, I really feel that it connects with an audience on multiple levels. It's kind of, yes, it's a personal song about a relationship, but it's also a social commentary, politics, etc. Especially right now with what's going on in the world. So yeah, it means a lot to me, that song, actually.
Yeah, I love it. It's probably one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion. I love it. It's great.
Oh.
Just because of you, though, because of your version.
Well, thank you very much.
Sun, Sunshine of Your Love, of course, you got the great Joe Bonamassa, who I think I'm going to be interviewing in November because he's coming here
Oh,
to this
fantastic.
area. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
great guy. Yeah.
yeah. That one features Ginger and you and Bernie as well.
And Neil Murray never gets a mention, but he obviously was the bass player in Whitesnake,
Yeah.
along with Bernie
Hmm.
and with many other bands. Great guy. And Abbas Dodu plays percussion. And Abbas was Ginger's friend and collaborator for many years in Ginger's band in the UK.
Right.
And he's also like a Ghanaian master percussionist, has a long history with WOMAD and Real World and all of those kinds of things. And just a great guy, great person. So it was nice to have him with Ginger. I think it helped Ginger to have his friend there. And it was lovely, having Joe and Ginger together. It's a really nice little thing that we achieved, I think. And we got it in 2 takes, maybe, because you're not going to get Ginger to do more than 2 takes if you're lucky.
He'll just walk away.
Yeah, well, he will. He did. I think
he did. I saw that video.
Oh, the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Ginger, and I've got my little collection of emails between
Right.
me and Ginger, and he was always so polite and he just expressed himself really well by email. He was always really nice and really positive. And then when I would meet him, a lot of the few times that I did, he wasn't so nice.
Yeah.
So I just got the sense that there was a wall that he put up, a sort of protective thing. He was actually a very bright, very sensitive guy, and I think the kind of notoriety that he has, or has in the kind of pantheon of rock, is a little bit of a front, to be honest. I think the guy was actually decent.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you ever interview him, or?
No, I did not. I didn't get a chance to. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, as I say, like I knew him a little bit over the years. Obviously, there were a couple of times where he was just a normal guy and really, really nice, and then when other times where he was a little less nice, a little more gruff or whatever. But anyway, it was great. It was a lot of fun bringing him in to record with Joe, and Joe was wonderful. And you can ask Joe about this if you want, but as we're in Abbey Road, he's got guys coming in, because obviously him and Bernie Marsden, Bernie's passed away now, but they're both collectors of guitars and had these, well, Joe still has, but Bernie had this amazing guitar collection, including the famous Paul Kossoff Les Paul, I think it's called the or whatever. So as we're in the session in Abbey Road, Joe has guys coming in with Les Pauls, and he's kind of putting them on the grand piano to sort of, checking them out. So there you go. I mean, the guy's not obsessed with Les Pauls at all. He's got a kind of steady flow of these things coming in from various parts of reality, just.
Oh, he's a hell of a collector, man. He's got a great collection of amplifiers. you know,
I
as
do. So
well.
I check him out sometimes on Instagram because
Yeah.
he's very techie in that way. I
Yes, he is.
way
Yeah.
beyond I mean, I'm a guitarist, but I have a small collection of guitars that I love.
Right.
But he has, yes, he goes, okay, this one's the trem master, and I've got it connected into this, and then it's like, wow, man. And then those real sounds, those authentic
Yeah.
tones that it's just, you can't beat that.
Did you
But you
get to
need the
keep
budget.
did you get to keep most of your dad's stuff, instruments and stuff, or no?
I didn't, but they're in my stepmother's possession.
Okay.
She's kind of got all of that,
Right.
really. But it's okay, it's
Yeah.
fine. I've got what I need. I'm not
Yeah.
very materialistic,
Right.
um, in that sense, and I've got my relationship with my dad, and I've got my own music. So it's not important. I
Yeah.
mean, I could also frame it differently. Give me all those guitars.
I'm his son, damn
Hey,
it.
just one. Just give me one. No, I'm
I
kidding.
know. There's a lot of red tape there, you know. I talked to Julian Lennon and same thing, man. You know, all the
Well, he
issues
had
he's
to
had.
spend like 20. I read he had to
Yeah.
spend 22 years in court to get like
Incredible,
a little
you
bit of
know,
a little piece of the pie.
you
I mean,
know.
I mean, when it's a first, I was in the first family, and then there was a second family, and I loved them all,
Right. Right.
but all of that stuff becomes really problematic,
Yeah.
and people put walls up, and they stop communicating, and they act as if it doesn't matter, or it's like they shift funny in the chat. But as people, they're lovely, and it's just a weird dynamic. You can't really,
Hmm.
you have to let go of it, because otherwise it would drive you
It
nuts,
would drive you nuts. Yeah.
So it's not important. I've got a really nice bass guitar that I
Hmm.
use.
Hmm.
I've got some really nice. I had a little endorsement with Warwick and Framus, their
Right.
sister company. So I'm using those a lot. I've got some Martin acoustics, and that's all I need, man. I mean, you don't need more than one guitar,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. You know.
and maybe one set of strings, and
Yeah.
just careful not to break the string.
Sure.
Be fine. Just borrow them
Exactly.
up, use them again. Fine.
Yeah, this nonsense of having 500 guitars. I don't know why. I mean, I
You've
guess
only
there's
got two hands. Come on,
exactly.
give
I
them
know.
all to Joe. It's fine.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah,
take.
exactly. I know Eric Clapton sold a lot of his guitars, and David Gilmour gave up, sold a
Yeah,
lot for
well, Eric,
charity.
actually, a friend of mine was involved. Japanese musician friend of mine who's also a lawyer,
Hmm.
really tough guy, was involved in. That's a while ago now, but yes,
Yeah.
Eric sold a lot of guitars to, I believe, to help start his addiction center,
Hmm.
Crossroads. So it's a great idea to. In fact, I know a guy that went there who was an addict that is in recovery. So I know that it's helped an awful lot of people
Yeah. Good.
over the
Good.
years. And,
Good.
so yeah, great
Well,
idea. Sell all your guitars, put it
yeah.
into something useful for sure.
Exactly. Um, Here's a guy I want to definitely mention too is Nathan James. He does a great job on this album too.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, very
Yeah.
like he's a kind of hidden. I mean, he's done a ton of stuff, but he's
Yeah.
still a hidden gem in the sense of the bigger picture. And I think he deserves to be. He's a world class guy,
Hmm.
absolutely. Great voice, and he's worked so hard at it, and he's very versatile. He does the kind of hard rock metal thing with his own band Inglorious, but he's sung, on the X Factor, and
Hmm.
he's done, I believe he did Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, that kind of thing, like more theatrical stuff.
Yep.
Great artist. Yeah, absolutely. I hope he gets more recognition as time goes
Sure.
on.
I was impressed. He did a great job on Tales of Brave Ulysses. He did a
Yeah.
nice job on a few cuts. I forgot the other song. Was it Sweet Wine? He did Sweet Wine as well,
Rewind.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
was great.
that song's written by my mother, co-written by my
Really?
mother.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she
Oh wow.
co-wrote two songs for Cream. She wrote the first ever song that they wrote called Sleepy Time. She wrote the
Huh.
lyrics to that. And then she co-wrote Sweet Wine with Ginger.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Nathan's great on that. The first time I met Nathan, he came, myself and Pete Brown, we put together a tribute show for my dad.
Mhm.
Not the first one that Ginger got up and walked off on, but the second one a year later. Um, we did it at Shepherd's Bush Empire in London, and
Mhm.
Nathan came down, and we had Mick Taylor and Lulu and all
Wow,
kinds of
great
amazing
cast.
people. David
Yeah,
Sanchez from the E Street Band, who was in my dad's band in the 80s. So yeah, just loads of great people, mostly the people that my dad worked with. And yes, Nathan came in and
hmm.
sang for us then, which was wonderful. So that was the first time I met him. But yeah, just a great talent. So we were lucky to have him as well, for sure.
Yeah, I wish Mick Taylor would do more.
I tried to get him in band, but he's just, yeah, Mick is just so great and so reserved in terms of,
Mm,
I think a lot of people have asked him to do things and got him and sort of handed him record deals, and maybe he's a little jaded, maybe he's a bit cautious because he's felt burnt over the years, but I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, a great talent. When he came down, he was just, to that show in 2016, he was just marvelous. He was incredible. Just his presence was.
yeah.
He's got a charisma that. And then when he played, obviously, it was incredible. So, yeah, I did ask him to get involved in a project, and he kind of said yes, and then he said no
Yeah.
again. So I sort of left it at that. Not that who am I? That's not the point, but just yeah, I wish he'd do like that. I think there should be a Mick Taylor, the ultimate Mick Taylor record that he
Hmm.
makes at this stage of his life.
Hmm.
Just goes into somewhere like Abbey Road, and with all the great people that he could go into a studio with and make an incredible record. I don't, if you're listening, Mick, why aren't you doing that now? If you need a T-boy or a vice co-producer or a bass player, no, no, whatever. I mean, it's a funny old game, isn't it?
Yeah,
Life,
it is. It is.
and I'm not sure if he ever really recovered from playing in the Stones and
Yeah.
all of that experience. It was such a huge thing for a 18-year-old kid to jump into or whatever.
I think that was my favorite era of the Stones was when Mick Taylor was there.
Exile, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Hmm.
yeah, it's a incredible record.
Well, Crosswords, you guys did a fantastic um, thing of Bernie sings on that one. It's an incredible song. But one vocalist who really surprised me that you got was Maggie Bell, because she doesn't, you never hear about Maggie that much. I know she still tours once in a while. I've been trying to get an interview with her for years, man. I always,
And she's being elusive, or
yes,
I
yes,
mean, I think I remember we tried to get her for the concert that I mentioned in 2016, and I think she didn't respond, or
yeah,
but I mean, Pete Brown knew her, and
right.
that's how we secured her. Obviously, she knew my dad, the Glaswegian connection, Scottish connection.
Hmm.
And Ronnie Leahy was the keyboard player in Stone the Crows, and he was in my dad's band for many years. So I got to know Ronnie very well when I was a kid. So there's all those connections, and yes, Maggie's still very much active. I believe predominantly in places like Germany and Europe,
Hmm.
Europe and Germany. And what a great voice, what a talent. So yeah, she came in and we spent a day with her. She was great.
Mm.
So I wasn't party to how that happened. I believe that I think it was probably Pete that made that happen, got her in, and I'm grateful that happened. She's wonderful. So
Yeah, that's rare, very rare. I used to love Stone the Crows, and I bet
yeah,
that was Jimmy Dore was in that band, right? From Robin
I
Trower.
think
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I love that. He's one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Is James Dore,
Yeah.
from Robin Trower.
Well, Robin's had an amazing career,
Yes,
and I
yes,
remember meeting him when I was like 8 or so. My dad made this record called BLT.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bruce, the drummer's last name. Now it escapes me, but anyway, BLT with a sandwich on the front. But yeah, I remember being in the studio and kind of looking. Robin had all his guitars set up in the studio, and I was a little kid, and I'm going, "Wow, look at those guitars! I want one. Give me one." um, so yes, great person, and he's still out there doing stuff all the time. So
He is. He is.
I think my friend David Mader is involved. You must know David Mader, right? Do you know this
Yeah.
guy? Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. He's I think he does his PR and stuff.
he
So there you
does.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. David's a good guy. He's
Yeah.
on Facebook, and also his manager. What's his manager's name? I forgot. It's been a while now. When you get
Okay.
older, man, you lose it.
Ah,
I forgot
that's all
about.
right. That's why they invented Google.
Yeah, exactly. And Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yes. And artificial intelligence.
Exactly. That's next.
Yes, and they'll zip you up in the pod, drill
Yeah.
a hole in your head, just
Yeah.
be in there. You won't have to think anymore. It'll be fine.
You
What
won't
could go
even
wrong?
you won't even have to show up, you know? It'll be
Well,
an
we
image of
probably
you.
won't. It'll be post-humanism. It'll be, yeah, it'll be like that was what it was like to be a human. This,
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're all in the matrix anyway.
that's certainly true. It's the hologram.
Yeah,
It's consciousness for sure.
exactly. Badge was a great tune. Of course, Deborah Bonham singing on that one. She's awesome. And
Yeah.
Deborah nailed that one. She nailed Badge. Um, Politician, I think, is one of your dad's favorites, I think, isn't it? Probably.
Yes, I played that
Yeah.
song a lot. Great, because it's a straight blues, but it's a blues with
Yeah.
a difference, and the lyric is powerful. You know, it's ironic, it's humorous, but it's also incredibly profound and timeless, because it seems like politicians won't stop being politicians. So no matter where we're at, we can have the same
They're all
conversation
the
about
same.
yeah, left, right, up, down. Oh no,
Unbelievable.
when we get those other guys back in, it'll be so much better, you know. And it's like, okay,
Yeah, right.
sure, sure, sure.
We need a musician as a head, you know?
Oh, somebody, yeah, something
Yeah.
different. But we also need to reconnect with ourselves, with the deepest part of ourselves, because all the answers are there. You know, this is we don't want to disempower ourselves. You know, we
Yeah.
have the divine guidance within us all. You know,
Sure.
however we want to frame that or interpret it or express it. You know, and I think that's the problem with the system. We are told shut up and listen to somebody else, but that somebody else has got a narrative. It's not the truth. It's not authentic anymore. There's no, I mean, as you say, like let's have Jimi Hendrix
Yeah.
as president of the United States of America. Let's
Sure.
get him back. You know, somebody that's actually just like being honest and real and not pretending to be perfect and not trying to control everybody. I mean, I know I'm being idealistic, but anyway, yes, politician.
The one thing that we can all agree on that could make peace in the world is music. That's what I believe, and that's why it hurt me bad when Hamas attacked the music festival. You know what I mean? They were all having a good time. There's a music festival, and that's, you know,
it's just, I mean, I don't think anyone can even begin to imagine the horror of that.
Oh my gosh.
But retaliation is it doesn't work. It's never gonna work. It's like the worst thing that it's the worst thing that anyone could ever do. But then doing it back, it's perpetuating more of the same energy. We have to practice forgiveness, no matter how hard that must be. And we've all been confronted with that, right? You know, that's the hardest lesson in life is to forgive, but it's the most powerful thing to do. I'm not saying we shouldn't defend ourselves against evil, but evil is in every country, in every institution, in every, you know, the good and bad is everywhere and within ourselves. And I think that's the power that we've got to rediscover, you know, rediscover the power of intention. And take responsibility for karma, take responsibility for what we're creating in each moment. God, it's so complicated though in the Middle East, obviously.
It is.
Like
It's always been
sibling rivalry and you know, awful. And you know, I have relatives there, so you know, it's just I don't even say, man. And my ex-girlfriend flew in the night before as well. So it's crazy.
I've got a complicated background. My father's family was from Syria, but they're Jewish. So they got kicked out of Syria. Okay. My mother's family, my mom, her mom was from Cuba, and my grandmother got kicked out of Cuba in '59 when Fidel came, and she was a
Wow.
gynecologist in Cuba, and she had money. She took care of the poor, but she left with the clothes on her back. They took everything from her, you know. So yeah, I know my family went
Well,
through hell too.
I'm
Yeah.
Scottish and Jewish, so I always
Oh,
call
there you
myself
go. Yeah.
skew. I'm a skew. But listen, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that the core of Orthodox Judaism don't
Right.
want a Zionist Jewish state. They want a Palestinian state because
Right.
belief is that only God can bring back the nation of Israel,
Yeah.
and that's the revelation that they hold within their hearts. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but what I am saying is that even within Israel itself, there isn't unity of an
Hmm.
understanding of what should be going on,
Yeah.
and the Arab peoples have always been there too, whether it's been more nomadic than others or whatever. It doesn't matter because none of that matters. All that
Yeah.
matters is love and acceptance and sharing. And who cares who controls or owns, or like, it doesn't matter if somebody's dead,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter who owns something. Like, let's grow up. Let's
Right.
find a way. And it has to happen on both sides because, of course, Hamas are, part of their manifesto is kill the Zionists, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But then the whole other side is like hatred in
Right.
equal measure. So hatred is not the way forward, but there's no easy way except to say love is the only solution, and we have to find that in our hearts
I
somehow.
agree. A lot of Palestinians actually worked in Israel, for
Yeah.
certain jobs and things like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not simple. It's
no, it's
and
not.
and
Yeah.
they're the same. Talking about the Semite, the anti-Semitism or whatever. I mean, it's the same race essentially. It's a
Yeah.
Semitic. The Arabs and the Jews are the same. They're cousins or siblings or whatever. So it's, oh my goodness. But then more than that, we are the human race.
Yeah.
And that's all that
Why
matters.
don't we concentrate on that?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
the hell with all that other culture. We're
So
just the human
unimportant.
race.
Yes, exactly. And
That's it.
like, hey, share my tea, share my
Yeah,
sandwich, all
exactly.
you need to somewhere to sit, come sit here, it's cool. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if we are predestined. I don't know if it's, our lives are already written for us and this is the way it's going to be. I don't know. Who knows?
I think you're, no, I believe, look, if you get down to it, all that exists is consciousness. So consciousness is inventing a time-space continuum in order to know itself. And so, yes, the manifestation, the physicality isn't really what's the truth. The only truth is the absolute plane of reality, which is the divine level or the quantum field, as we've now recently discovered in science.
Yeah.
This is the quantum level of reality where all potential exists simultaneously. And yes, it appears that Malcolm's got an opinion that may or may not sound a little arrogant at times or whatever, or suddenly he's going to be humble, or suddenly he's really going to change the world, or he's going to but it's like, Malcolm, it's only one thing is going to happen. And as you
Yeah.
say, how much are we really in control of that?
Exactly.
I'm not sure
Exactly.
that there isn't even really an individual here. There's the appearance of an individual, sure, but there's only one thing that happens in
Yeah.
eternal presence, and I think that's self-realization. So yeah, but in the terms of the story, I think intention is important. Intention to stop hatred and to stop war. But then we're fighting, as we know, we're fighting a military industrial complex. We're
Mhm.
fighting economics, that are
Yeah.
based on oil, the oil industry, based on the war machine, as you guys call it in America, or
Mm.
your academics they call it the forever war,
Mhm.
because it has to be perpetuated in order for
Right.
your economy to continue to function in the way it does, and
Yeah.
not just America, but all superpowers across the globe. So there you go.
There
Pull the
you
plug
go.
on economics, and our transactions will be. I'll give you a loaf of bread, you give me a donkey, and never the change on meat.
The bottom line is life is very short. You never know when it's our time is up. So why not enjoy what time we have? You
And as you
know,
say, music is a
music. That's
healing. It's a
music
healing
saved my
force.
life, man. All my life, since I was a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't have made it without music.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
so empowering and beautiful, and we can learn so much, even just in an abstract way. Just
sure.
learn
Yep.
about our own selves, our own feelings, and potential. And like not taking things so seriously.
Well,
Um,
you guys are the real peacemakers, the musicians, the songwriters, the composers. You got, in my opinion, you're the real peacemakers. You know.
yeah, I mean, if we can, I think that's the goal as an artist.
Yeah.
If you can just touch a few people along the
Sure.
way,
That's right.
because it's a knock-on effect, isn't it? I love that movie, Pay It Forward. That
Hmm.
concept of like you just do one thing for one person, and suddenly it's like a domino effect,
It's
and,
true.
and in a
Yeah,
positive way, it can just completely change the world. So
I agree.
song can
Yep.
change everything. If
Yep.
you're lucky.
Well, here's something cool. Born Under a Bad Sign. That's Paul Rogers singing. But I had on this show recently the guy who wrote that song, William Bell.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's doing good. He's putting out new music as we
I think
speak.
somebody told me about that. So how old is he? Like 70, 80, or 80
Yeah,
something?
close to 80, I guess. Yeah, he's a
That's
nice guy,
incredible.
really good guy, very
Oh man.
sharp. William
Oh,
Bell
that's
wrote it, and
brilliant.
then Booker T. Jones was the composer, and then of course Albert
Right.
King,
Yeah,
made a
Albert
big,
King made the famous version. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But that was cool.
Wow.
That was history. Getting him on the show, I thought that was really cool.
I bet. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, all of that, like that song, like all great songs, they kind of take a life, suddenly they have their own life,
that's right.
outside of
Yeah,
whoever happened to write it or perform it or whatever. It suddenly is like, wow, this thing is like it's its own thing, its own entity. It's a magical, alive
it's
thing.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, like a lot of Cream songs. Yeah,
really,
a
yeah.
lot of people didn't realize that your dad wrote most of the music in Cream. Him and Pete. Because they always think Eric Clapton. Of course, they always think him, but no,
Yeah,
it's your
well, I
dad.
mean, Eric's always been. I mean, my dad. I had a conversation with somebody else about this recently. My dad didn't really play the game, the commercial game, in the way
Right.
that. I mean, Eric was. Maybe he was more just naturally more suited to it.
Hmm.
Um, so Eric became the better known artist on the kind of top tier level, whereas my dad he kind of weaved his way in and out of the commercial concept, but did a lot of the other things too, like jazz and
Hmm.
classical and various different collaborations which might be termed more obscure in terms of how the industry sees things. So yeah. And then, obviously you do marketing, like in the 90s, they came out with a box set, like a best of thing for Eric, and they called it the cream of Eric Clapton.
Oh
So
gosh.
then people think, oh,
Yeah.
oh, it must be Eric Clapton's band. But
Yeah.
fair play to Eric when they did the reunion in 2004, I think.
Hmm. Right.
Um, Eric was very vocal about how important the band was and how it was an equal collaboration.
Right.
He has always been himself been very clear about that, I think,
Hmm.
and always shown respect to Ginger and my dad,
Yeah.
as musicians. So I mean, I love Eric for that, I think. But it's the industry thing.
Yeah. I know.
It's a funny game.
They focus on one thing, and everybody copies each other, of like one, well, like you said, Eric Clapton, Cream, and then somebody else copies it. So, and nobody does their homework, which
Yeah,
I
but I
do.
mean, even
Yeah.
very early on, I think, I don't know the full story, but I believe Arma Ertegun at Atlantic
Right.
initially he wanted Eric to be like the pretty front boy, and the other two guys to kind of stand behind the curtain at the back. And
Yeah.
so my dad had to really fight, or collectively they had to really fight, because my dad obviously was singing and playing bass in a certain way, but also conceptually Cream were a trio, and the nature of that was the equality of the three musicians
Hmm.
in terms of the sound, the actual frequency of sound, it wasn't like so many other bands. It would be the lead guitarist,
Yeah.
the bass player playing the root.
Yeah.
Can we turn the bass down a little bit, please? As the bass is a bit too loud, turn it down. And turn the guitar up. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's it. Good.
That's
Good.
about right.
Can you just stand a bit further back? There you go. Thank you. And Cream was not. Cream was probably one of the first bands that, obviously Hendrix and
Hendrix,
Noel, and
yeah.
they were doing a bit of a similar thing, born out of the same kind of scene and the same time. But I think Cream were unique in that sense because they had three musicians that really knew how to express themselves on their instruments and improvise, and really, really excel. And I think that was so well matched that they had to fight for the equality rather than it being Eric, pretty boy Eric with the guys. My dad was pretty good looking at that time too, so he might have been shorter than Eric, but he could have stood on a box, or something.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite voices as well. Your dad. He had a great voice. Yeah. Incredible. Very unique.
We just lost, I don't know whether you saw, but we just lost Carla Bley yesterday.
I know, I saw that. She was incredible.
Incredible artist. And there's that whole record called Escalator of the Hill that my dad, Ron and Paul Jones and Paul Motion and John McLaughlin. And so I was posting a couple of those things up on social media last night because my dad's voice on that is very, very incredible. Yes. Incredible time. That sort of from the late 60s to the mid 70s, my father's voice with Leslie and Corky, Westwards and Bang, and just there was something he'd discovered at that time that was really special. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Of his voice.
It's hard losing your heroes, isn't it? We're all getting old, but still,
I'm getting younger. I'm like I'm like Brad Pitt in that movie.
Jeff Beck hit me hard, because I was a big fan of Jeff Beck, and when he went, I said, "Oh man, it's."
Yeah, I don't know the full story about that, but it sounds like it wasn't necessarily. It wasn't a had to have happened.
No, kind of a septic type of thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like he was in pretty good shape. Touring obviously with Johnny Depp and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Looked in really good shape.
Took everybody by surprise, I think. Yeah. All right, let's talk about you, Salvation. Listen to Salvation. I like your voice, man. Your voice is really different, isn't it? I
mean, I'm still finding it, and that record's quite old now. I mean, it's
right.
So what can I say about that record? I kind of I was like going through trauma. I just split up with this girl that I really loved. You've never heard that before from an artist?
No, of course not.
And like I was struggling to like sing, and I was struggling to but I kind of expressed a few things on that record. I think there's some great writing on the record. I'm not sure if I was to do it again, maybe I'd get a producer and produce it
right
to get a bit more of a consistency. But yeah, there's some interesting things about it.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, Life was a cool track. That's probably one of my favorites. Cool. Sometimes your voice sounds a little bit like Ray Davies in this album. Yeah.
Well, I met him a couple of times in London. I grew up in a place called Crouch End, which is at the bottom of Muswell Hill, where he grew up. So our paths crossed a couple of times. But that's a great compliment.
Yeah. I had his brother on the show, Dave.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. Yeah,
inventor of distortion, according to some.
That's right. Nice guy, and he's put out some good albums too recently. He really has.
He be doing like sort of dance music stuff?
You think? But kind of in a way. Some of the tracks are, I guess. Yeah, I like his music.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, he was having hits under his own name in the 70s and stuff, wasn't he? I think
that's right.
Big hits at one point. Yeah, amazing.
Take Me As I Am. Got some really good guitars on that. You got some beautiful tracks, like kind of lighter, like lighter. Speaking of lighter, like a soft ballad. Beautiful track. Um, Talk about the soft kill. What were you thinking about when you made this one?
Well, it's all about, this. It's all trying to express what happens when you fall in love with somebody and then they leave, and you're trying to figure it all out. Of course, it's all nonsense, right? Because those things happen.
Yeah,
You get so caught up in the energy of somebody else, and they're caught up in your energy, and then you don't see outside of it, and so you're kind of working through it. So the soft kill, yeah, it's like
makes sense.
maybe I stole it a little bit from Killing Me Softly. What's that
Roberta
song?
Flack. Yeah.
Roberta Flack, that great song. So I probably was heavily influenced by Roberta Flack on that track.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I like that. I want to say too, the album was kind of mixed by, it was a Steve Orchard, right? Who did
Yes,
McCartney,
amazing.
Chris Cornell. Yeah,
Yes, he's Paul's still, I believe, he's Paul's house engineer.
very cool.
Great guy, a lovely person, and yeah, it was really, really great opportunity to work with him.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. Yeah, I think he won a Grammy with Chris Cornell, or yeah, he's done a lot of stuff over the years. Really
Yeah,
interesting.
that's another guy I felt bad when he passed away, was Chris Cornell, because I was a big fan of his and Soundgarden and Audio Slave. They were, you
Oh
know,
yeah, but
very
I think
talented guy.
yeah. I mean, I think he obviously had some heavy addiction problems for many years,
Yeah,
and maybe he didn't work through it, and it caused
very
some
sad.
clinical depression stuff. And I mean, all that stuff's so heavy, and all we can feel is compassion for people that don't
I know.
find a way through, if they don't find a way through. But what a talent that guy was. I mean,
Hmm.
incredible talent, and another person that sort of had a sound,
Yes.
in his writing as well as his actual voice. He really had a personality that was very powerful, and a huge fan base. Obviously, so many people loved Chris. So yeah.
One of
So
my favorite Bond songs was written by him too. He did a great job for the James Bond
yeah,
theme.
I think that
So,
might have been the one that Steve Orchard mixed, but I'd have to look it up.
huh.
He might have been involved in that one. I'm not sure though.
That's incredible.
But yeah.
What You're Saying was another favorite track of mine. Mind Control.
Yes, that's written with John Tiven, who's
Hmm.
based in Nashville. Great songwriter that has worked with all kinds of people over the years. Yes, Mind Control.
I like that one.
Excellent. Yeah. So yes, we managed to. I think we mentioned George Bush's university club that he was a member of, the Skull and Bones. That's it. George, don't take it personally. It just rhymed. Okay, the nature of songwriting.
Sometimes there's no meaning. You just need a word that rhymes.
And Skull and Bones work great.
That's true. A lot of songwriters told me that. I
Yeah.
said, "What is the meaning of this?" No, I just needed a word that rhymed.
Yeah, there's no depth to it whatsoever.
That's funny.
Uh,
And of course, World Gone Mad, which is also a favorite of mine.
oh, cool. Yes. Well, I'm actually redoing that song for
Are you? Oh, cool.
my new album. I'm doing a slightly different kind of arrangement because I felt, see, I didn't really get behind this record and promote it for a
Right.
number of reasons. So this next record is going to be pushed out there properly with proper promotion. And so I just felt like that one song needs to be done again and got out there because it's still relevant, man.
Yeah.
Look at the world, man, it's just gone crazy.
It, it will be for a long time.
Listen, if we all just love each other, it'll all be okay.
Yeah, peace, man. Peace. I grew up
Peace.
in the 60s, and that was a good sign, man.
No, it is a good sign. I mean,
Yeah.
I jest, but I'm serious. I think well, we've said a lot about that already. I just, it's just crazy. The world has gone mad.
Yeah.
And it's about consciousness, it's about spirituality, it's about opening up to a higher power, a higher sense of things
Mhm.
within us all. And that just brings all the answers. It nurtures us and nourishes us. And of course, all traditions, all religions, all spiritual traditions, they all have their way to that same truth, and it's very clear when people aren't connected with that, when they're not connected to the source part of themselves, then all of this crap
That's
kicks in.
true.
It
Some
can't,
people
it eradicates it once we're connected. It's like, no, it's never even going to
yeah.
start. The dysfunction won't even begin. So.
There's a lot of people that are clueless in this world, unfortunately. You know,
Well,
everything.
it's taking things literally, right?
Yeah,
Rather
exactly.
than
They take everything
feeling.
literally.
Like, well,
Yeah,
it's said here that I've got to smite everybody, so I've got
exactly.
to just go out and do a bit of smiting. I'll see you later once I've finished,
It's true.
my rampage.
Yeah. Something changed in my mind. If it was a change in the matrix or whatever, everything has started going down when John Lennon got shot. That's when it all started, because a Beatle got murdered. That doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't happen. That's when everything went upside down, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess probably for you guys, certainly the two Kennedy
Yeah,
assassination, because obviously they are controversial characters. They're not like the
right,
angel. They weren't angels,
right.
but they were attempting to change the system. They were attempting to move away from the kind of Cold War scenario. If you believe some people, they were going to close down the Federal Reserve, which has a huge impact on economics in the US and
Yeah,
globally. There were a lot of things they were making a move, to sort of deconstruct the military-industrial complex and all of those things. And of course, that at that time, listen, man, we can't allow. So I think if we're to talk about, conspiracy theories,
yeah,
which it's a ridiculous thing to say, but let's just be real here. Like,
yeah,
there are interests in the world that don't want peace, and they don't want an equitable situation where people, I'm not a communist. I believe in free market capital. I believe in competition as an intrinsic part of evolution. I'm not an idiot, but
yeah,
because you need that. You need to go, oh man, I practiced harder because I wanted to win that race, and I beat the
right,
guy because I practiced really hard. It's like, yeah, that's part of evolution,
right.
and that should be celebrated. But to destroy people on that basis is not realistic. So there's
Yeah,
got to be some kind of realistic system where we can also care about each other and help the needy, help the
sure.
people that need help. And
That should be number one. That should be
yeah,
number one. It really should be.
absolutely. So yes,
I'm
John Lennon, I mean, that's
yeah.
crazy that he was murdered and that.
Oh, it didn't make any sense. The guy even liked him. It's so whacked out. It's ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know, the conspiracy thing with the Kennedys. I think the mob had a little bit to do with that, because
Yeah. Well, I
the
think it's, I
Cuban
think,
connection.
yeah, I think,
Yeah,
there was it was all in, as we get further away from it, we
yeah,
can be more honest and realistic about how,
yep,
at that time, the mob and the government and the unions and this and that and the other and various different interests were all on different levels
yep,
interacting. And the mob then became legitimized, went into legitimate business because it wasn't going to be sustaining itself
yeah,
as a entity from the establishment. So now the establishment is integrated with all of those things,
yeah,
and that's better, right? It's better for everybody that there isn't a kind of dangerous underbelly that's detracting, although to some people they were actually a really positive force,
right,
in local communities. That
yeah,
if cops weren't policing them, then the mob would, hey man, here's $20, man.
yeah.
Look after me, man. It's like, okay, all right, that's cool. Well, as long as you keep giving me the $20, I'll
Yeah.
look after
I used to go to Vegas when the mob was still there, and I got in to see Frank Sinatra just by slipping him $100, and there was a long line of people trying to get in, and the big
yeah.
guy at the door says, "You got 100? You got a yard on you? Give me the yard. I'll get you front row." That kind of thing. I kind of miss
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, it's still like that. I mean, I about 9 years ago, I went to Moscow in Russia, and I
Right.
played. Only been there once to play. There's a great guy, promoter called Boris, that used to be there and bring like the British blues invasion guys over to do
Right.
gigs.
Right.
And that was the sense of Russia. You know, it's an amazing place, amazing people. The politics is a whole other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But there is a kind of codified level of corruption that
Right.
gets things done. Otherwise, you're in the back of the queue. But if you slip the cop $100, and
Sure.
it is dollars over there, by
Yeah.
the way,
Really?
American dollar. If you slip the dollars, then the thing gets done. You
It
know,
gets
and it's like,
done.
okay,
Yeah.
everyone know as long as everyone understands that, then
Yep.
there's flow to that kind of economy. You know, so
Yeah. Well, it used to be like that in radio too with payola. They used to come
I
in
thought it
here,
was the
play this.
bag
Yeah.
of cocaine and
Yeah.
the $14,000.
Yeah. Which I'm not totally against. Maybe they play better music that way. I'm not a big fan of commercial radio anymore.
But I guess I mean, didn't a bunch of big artists like Rihanna, etc. I'm not saying it was her personally, but I think they got caught out having a lot of fake fans on social media to ramp up the
Probably.
algorithms and all that. So I
Oh
think
yeah. That happens
there's
all the
all these
time.
tricks and games going
Sure.
on because now it's less about, you know, it's I don't think any of us even really understand how the industry works anymore. And
No.
it's
No.
certainly a lot to do with social media and the algorithms and being seen to have, you know, if you're on Instagram, you've got to have 14 million fans, but only follow 2 people, you know, and that means you're really good. Apparently, if you've got that sort of percentage difference, it's like if you kind of follow everybody that follows you, you're obviously a crap musician, you know.
Exactly.
But if you
Exactly.
if you unfollow everybody, but they carry on following you,
Yeah.
it must you're really much better.
I love prog music. And I wish
Cool.
so much, and I promote a lot of the guys from overseas, and because they, great bands, from Norway, Germany, and I bring them on my show to promote them, but they don't get the recognition, which is very sad because they're incredible musicians, and some of
Yes.
your music sounds prog, from the album as well. You could be a
Interesting.
great prog musician, I think.
If I moved more in that direction, yeah. I mean, I think there's elements of it, but I think I still made a record that was like attempting to be commercial song
Right,
based.
right.
But I mean, some of the, obviously Porcupine Tree have done incredibly well
Mm-hmm.
if they're counted as prog, I guess. But I think you could go even more like what are some of those bands like Spock's Beard or
Beard,
like,
Neil Morris,
yeah,
all those
yeah. So
guys.
like I mean, one of the guys that we had at my tribute in 2016 was Steve Hackett, and
Yeah, he's
I guess
everywhere now.
prog,
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's great music.
it's
Genesis
great
and
music. Yeah,
Yes, and all of those bands were incredible, and all the stuff that's still going on now. It's
yeah.
funny though how we categorize everything though, isn't it? It's a
I
weird,
know, I know.
you know.
And that now there's prog rock, there's metal prog, there's kind of a country prog going on.
Country prog. I'd like to
Country
check that out.
prog.
That's
They're,
interesting.
they're saying
Country
the Allman
prog.
Brothers were country prog.
All right. Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
anything that isn't like a loop that you've downloaded from Instagram for 4.99.
exactly.
Anything that's not that is prog.
It's prog. Yeah,
Or
yeah, that's
jazz.
funny. Very good interpretation. I like that. Well, let's first of all, your new album coming out. I love the title, "Fake Humans and Real Dolls."
Yes.
I love it.
Well,
What can we expect from this album? What direction are you taking here?
Well, it's quite a kind of alternative rock sound, I guess. I don't
Good.
know. I mean, I'm not basing it on anything in the external. It's all just kind of bubbling up inside of me. I've got 15 songs on the go at the moment. I'm writing a bunch more.
Okay.
And I'm really just focusing on, I mean, the title's kind of tongue in cheek, but I was in a band at one point with a guy that had split up with his girlfriend and bought a real doll from realdoll.com. I don't know whether you know what that is, but without going into it, it's a sex doll.
Okay.
But I think he spent like $8,000.
Yeah, they're making them really real now.
Yeah, really real. Now he's got a pre-speaking one, but I think you can get the ones that you can program to talk to you like, "Oh baby, you're the only one for me. I love you, baby. I can't wait till you come home." And,
boy, this interview turned different directions.
Yeah, exactly. No, but anyway, so like it wasn't. It's nothing personal towards him because he's a lovely guy, but
Right.
it was really interesting to observe somebody who and then he's got a girlfriend now, so but he kept the doll. But the thing is, like, just to get to that
they can
point,
have a threesome, right?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what she thinks about that, but no, but just the idea of like where we're heading, humanity is heading
Right.
into artificial intelligence, and also the cynicism or the fear of intimacy, getting to that point where you'd rather just have sex with an object that can't talk back, it's easier that way or whatever. So there's all of that, but it's also just playing on, we live in a time where things get turned on their head. We've got fake news and we've got manipulation in the media, and it's not about, and we've got a lot of things that are going on, that are termed conspiracy theories, but then 6 months, 2 years ahead, we realized that it wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was a fact.
Right.
It was just the media or certain entities were spinning it for their own benefit. And so I'm just exploring all of it without wanting to take sides, because that's the problem. Everyone's taking sides.
Yeah.
But there aren't any sides. There's only us here trying to figure it out. So
exactly.
So yeah, I think it's kind of a fun title, to an umbrella term to explore just what's going on for me personally, as well as maybe what everyone's going through collectively, because I think we are all going through a huge, isn't it the most amazing time to be alive? But it's also just crazy as well. If we're aware, if we don't have our head in the sand, we've got to admit, it's like, whoa, we are at the crossroads. We're at this precipice. Like, which way are we going to go? Are we going to fall into love, or are we going to fall into annihilation?
Yeah.
Are we going to fall into transhumanism and forget the human race? And maybe we'll be these like insects, metallic insects with human heads, and plugged into a grid, or like we'll transcend time and space, and we'll go into some other plane of existence. I mean, I don't know,
and of course there's the aliens. There more reports about UFOs and everything, but I don't think they want to meet with us. I think they know us, and we don't want to screw with these people.
Also, that's so layered as well, because we've had, we know it's in the public record that we've had government agendas like
it's out there.
Blue Beam, so Blue Beam is about pretending that we have aliens in order to scare people into submission. That's been a concept going back into the 1950s.
I know.
But then, yes, it's highly likely, and there's a lot of evidence that there are extraterrestrials. So it's like, things within things, wars within. It's something within an enigma, something a riddle within I don't know.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan said, if we were attacked by aliens, the world would come together because we'd be one against them.
Yes, exactly. So there you go.
There you go. I don't know. There'd still be people that would probably, want to team up with the aliens, I think.
Well, I think there's two. I mean, according to a lot of people, there are different, there are the greys, and then there are friendly aliens that want to help us.
Right.
And they've already been integrated into the human societies in some shape or form. And then there are kind of these other aliens that would like to suck our blood out of our skulls, whatever, so
I think the ones that have been here, they've got to be friendly, or else they would have attacked us or eaten us or something.
Well, and there's different levels, there are there's the physical plane, but there are also things happening on more esoteric levels of reality, more energetic levels. So it's interesting stuff. So I think maybe fake humans and real dolls could cover a whole host of things.
I just want to mention, you got kind of a mini tour going on. You're going to be in January. You got some dates.
Yes, I've got four shows actually. In the London, UK area. Just little showcase venues. Just to start working the material. So I'm excited to do that.
And but then you got Malcolm Plays the Blues, right?
Yes,
blues music.
Just a few little local blues gigs.
Cool.
And then I'm working with some agents to book, as I said, I'm going to get this Fake Humans record out like September next year, do like a proper UK tour and a proper US tour and get some video singles out and really try and
Good. We're looking forward to that. When do you think the album's going to come out?
well, I think singles in the spring next year, and then
Okay.
the album like September to coincide with a tour. You know,
Okay.
ideally I'll be touring right across America by then. It takes, takes at least, a year these days to get all of that set up.
Right.
It's and then promoting it
Yeah.
so that people know about it. So yeah, it's an interesting game. I don't know what I mean. If you've got any ideas for like a gimmick,
Yeah. Exactly.
you know what I mean. It's like everybody
Yeah.
needs to have a gimmick these days. I mean, Kim Kardashian did a sex video. What else? I don't know. What else could I do? I don't know.
You can borrow the sex doll, I guess, and
I could borrow the sex doll. Yeah. I like that idea. Just don't
put it on the
take
album
it
cover.
I was thinking of that. Like, could I to borrow a few? Like, could we have everyone write in and offer to like ship by FedEx? You know, their real dolls just temporarily. I'll pay the ship. We could
That's
get a
funny.
collection of them in on my green screen here in my studio or something.
Here's something else I found out about you. What about the you're into Chinese mythology or something like that? You're
Oh,
and
well,
you
I'm
did some
writing
operas?
Well, I'm still writing. I'm
Okay.
developing out three at the moment. I'm developing three operas.
Really?
Uh,
That's
and
got to be
taking
difficult.
taking a long time. And yes, one of them is
Yeah.
on an ancient Chinese semi-historical
Wow.
mythological story from
That's very
800,
deep.
800
Yeah.
BC. Yeah, it's a lovely story. It's kind of like a precursor to The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Very briefly, it's a king is married and has a son, but then he falls in love with this kind of otherworldly concubine.
Mm-hmm.
And he imprisons his wife, he expels his son, and he marries the concubine, and they have a kid. But the concubine is like a femme fatale. She doesn't laugh. He can't amuse her. So he starts lighting the warning beacons on the wall of China
Hmm.
to warn his army that they're being attacked. And so the army keep turning up, and but there's no one attacking them. So over time, the armies start losing faith in their king,
Right.
and the son comes and attacks and kills the king and overtakes the kingdom. But there's a lot more complexity to it. And the concubine is kind of like a serpent spirit. She's not really of this world.
Hmm.
So it's kind of mythological, but it's all comes from these ancient transcripts on
Very
bronze
cool.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really deep. I mean, and it's Chinese history, which is so obscure to us Westerners.
I
Like trying
know.
to tap into that is
Yeah.
within itself. So, but I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Sounds like you got a lot going on, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's this is a question I ask everybody, and I get some really interesting answers. And I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to tell you what your dad told me. Okay.
Okay.
If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform with or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be? Now I'm going to tell you what your dad said, and while you're thinking about it, your dad said, "Well, it's a tricky one for me. We nearly had a band with Jimi Hendrix and Tony Williams. We were talking to each other about forming a band with those guys, and I would have loved to see what would have happened if the three of us had gotten together. So I would say Jimmy and Tony Williams. That was interesting.
Well, I
I
mean
never
that
knew
makes
that.
well
Yeah.
that makes. I mean, Tony and my dad were really good friends.
Right.
They had Tony had this band Lifetime
Mm-hmm.
that my dad joined. It was a trio with John McLaughlin and Larry Young on Hammond. And then my dad joined, and it became a quartet. And it was really my dad's favorite band that he'd ever been in, because I think the potential of it was, and I think the industry didn't get behind it, didn't understand it. It was too progressive.
Right.
It was a sort of proto fusion band. And so I think he always aspired to do something with Tony, because Tony was such an incredible musician,
Mm-hmm.
and they shared a level of musicianship that I think my father found difficult to find it in other places. And obviously Jimmy the three of them, that would have been really interesting because Jimmy
Fantastic.
had
Yeah.
something coming from a very different place to the other two.
Right.
Jimmy had this whole other thing going on, as we know, which ended up being like classical music.
Mhm.
You listen to that those live recordings of Machine Gun with Band of Gypsies or something like that. It's and that's why Miles Davis and people like that were attracted to Jimmy, and then ended up having guitarists in Jack Johnson and all that era, that Miles was working with guys that sounded like Jimmy, because it was a whole new sound world
That's right.
that was unexplored. So yeah, that would make sense to me. I mean, if I was going to be devil's advocate, my dad might have also said like Johann Sebastian Bach and Igor Stravinsky as well, polite. No, I mean, so you're asking me.
I'm asking you.
I mean, that's a difficult. Like, if I stuck to rock musicians or
No, it
jazz,
could be anybody. It could be Beethoven, Bach.
well, I mean, Beethoven would be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's really
Beethoven
hard.
was a hippie.
I don't know. I'd have to say I don't know. I think I've yet to discover. I feel like I'm a child that's still at the very beginning of my journey, and
Yeah.
I think there are reasons for that. Maybe my spiritual practice just makes me always feel that sense of humility in the process. But also I feel like I haven't achieved anything yet to the level of what I'm able
Hmm.
to, what my potential is.
I
So,
agree. There's a lot. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with you on that.
and I think that's partly to do with, I mean, it's been a challenging life so far,
Yeah.
being son of somebody and coming out of the shadow of that. Maybe this Heavenly Cream project will help me
Hmm.
in a sort of strange sort of way, come out of the shadows and find my own voice and be able to express that in a bigger context. It's just such a weird time in the industry because there's so much conformity, and if you do have your own, even if it's embryonic and you have your own voice, it can be challenging to find people that get behind it because they just
Right.
want everything to sound the same.
Right.
The industry doesn't want to take risks. And you just see it on every level of the business. The booking agents want it to all sound the same, the record labels, the managers, I mean, I'm generalizing, but
Hmm.
I remain positive and hopeful that I'll find a way through. But I think as I find a way through, I will then be able to look back and know who I'd like to work with. I mean, if I was going to say like right now, I'd love to do something with Dennis Chambers on drums because he's
Hmm.
one of my favorite drummers and he's an amazing person. And but I'm on WhatsApp with him, so I might pluck up the courage and ask him anyway. But I mean, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And there are people around who are amazing. So maybe I can, if I get myself to a certain point, they will recognize that I have something to offer as well.
Sure.
So, but from people from the past, yeah, all right, let's have a band with Jimi Hendrix, I don't know, Leonard Bernstein, I don't know, man. Stravinsky, Jeff Buckley. That's probably enough, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good band.
Jeff Buckley's not allowed to sing. He's only allowed to write the guitar chords and then hand them over the piece of paper over for Igor to play. Igor's got to play the guitar.
Well, Malcolm, this has been a lot of fun, man.
Oh, likewise. Thank you so much.
Loved your dad. I can see your sense of humor is a lot like your dad. It's almost like talking to your dad, really. Very cool. I can send you the interview if you want. I got it on YouTube with
oh yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah. I mean, I miss him all the time. Like everyone that was close to him, we all miss him because he, it was as I said before, it was a challenging relationship that I had with him.
Yeah.
Loved him and he loved me, and we bonded over music and we played music together and we shared so much in that way. And all the people that knew him in that way, they knew how important and special he was as a person. So yeah, send it over. I'd love to see it.
I will. I guess I'll send it to John,
Fantastic.
Levin, and then he'll forward to you. He's good at that.
Fantastic.
Anything else to add? Did we cover just about everything?
No, just thank you for, you know, for your support, and it's been
Sure.
great to chat. And you know, maybe we can chat again when my new
We
records.
will. I'll definitely have you on again when we want to talk about the new album for sure.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Malcolm. My best to
Thank you.
you, the family, and everybody.
Thank
And
you.
hope to see you in Florida soon, man. Maybe I'll do a little tour in the States. You know,
Yes, I'm hoping next year for
mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
To
I'll let you
promote
know.
the new album. That'll be great.
Yeah,
Thank you,
fantastic.
Malcolm.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.